You wake up one morning and realize something has shifted. The person you loved, who once made your heart race with excitement and your days feel lighter, now leaves you drained, confused, and questioning yourself. You remember the first time you met them, how effortlessly they charmed everyone around them, how they seemed to see you in a way no one else ever did. It felt like fate, like the universe had finally delivered someone who truly understood you. You were drawn to their confidence, their charisma, and the way they made you feel seen. At that time, you didn't know that this same charm would later become a source of heartbreak. You didn't know that behind the charm was a pattern of manipulation, control, and emotional games that would slowly test your boundaries and your sense of self. And yet, here you are, still wondering why you fell so deeply, why your heart stayed even when your mind warned you otherwise. You begin to realize that this journey, as painful as it has been, is not meaningless. It is teaching you lessons you could not have learned any other way. Lessons about your worth, your resilience, and your capacity to love without losing yourself. You begin to see that every confusing text, every moment of doubt, and every heartbreak is a reflection of something you needed to see in yourself. Your strength, your clarity, and your readiness for a love that truly honors you. Sometimes, the hardest experiences in life are also the ones that teach us the most. Loving a narcissist is one of those experiences. At first, it can feel confusing, painful, and even humiliating. You may wonder why someone who promised love or affection seems to take more than they give. But beneath the hurt, there is a hidden lesson, a reason for this journey that goes beyond the immediate pain. These relationships are not a reflection of your worth or a punishment. They are mirrors, showing you parts of yourself that you might not have been aware of before. When you first fall for a narcissist, it often feels like magic. They can be charming, attentive, and even mesmerizing in the way they make you feel special. You might think you found the one person who sees you completely, who understands you in a way no one else does. But over time, the dynamic shifts. The admiration turns into criticism, attention becomes conditional, and their love seems to revolve solely around themselves. At this point, the pain can feel unbearable. You may question yourself, your choices, and your ability to judge character. But it's precisely here that the first real lesson begins. Understanding that your capacity for love and compassion is not a weakness, but a strength. These relationships show you how deeply you can care, how willing you are to invest your time, energy, and emotions into someone else. That willingness to love is a gift, but it also needs guidance. Loving someone who cannot reciprocate in healthy ways teaches you that love alone is not enough to sustain a relationship. You start to realize that self-love, boundaries, and emotional awareness are not optional. They are essential. The universe, in its own mysterious way, presents these challenges so you can learn to protect and honor yourself. Loving a narcissist also brings clarity about patterns you may have unconsciously repeated in your life. Perhaps you've found yourself drawn to people who mirror familiar dynamics from your past, family, friends, or early relationships. These patterns often point to unresolved emotional needs or blind spots in how you perceive love and validation. Being in a relationship with a narcissist shines a spotlight on those areas. It encourages you to reflect deeply on why you were drawn to this type of person, what needs were being met temporarily, and what you must address to break the cycle. This self-reflection is painful, yes, but it is also a powerful teacher. Another lesson hidden within this experience is the concept of impermanence and detachment. Narcissists can teach us, without intending to, that external validation and attention are fleeting. When you rely on someone else to define your worth, you become vulnerable to disappointment and heartbreak. Over time, you begin to understand that your value is intrinsic. It does not depend on how others treat you. This realization often becomes a cornerstone of personal growth, helping you cultivate resilience, independence, and a stronger sense of self. The pain of loving a narcissist also highlights your capacity for forgiveness and compassion, not necessarily toward them, but toward yourself. It's easy to feel shame or guilt for staying too long, for overlooking red flags, or for hoping they would change. But these experiences are not failures, they are part of your journey. They teach you to be kinder to yourself, to understand that humans are complex, and that every relationship serves a purpose, even if it is temporary. Through this lens, the hardship begins to feel less like punishment and more like a carefully crafted lesson designed to guide you towards self-awareness. Finally, these relationships prepare you for healthier connections in the future. By facing the intensity of a narcissist's influence, you learn what you truly need, what you will not compromise, and what love should feel like. You begin to recognize the red flags, the subtle manipulations, and the dynamics that do not serve your growth. This awareness empowers you to choose differently next time, to seek relationships that are balanced, respectful, and nourishing. The universe uses these difficult experiences to teach you, to build your emotional muscles, and to help you step into a life where love is reciprocal, authentic, and free from manipulation. In the end, loving a narcissist is not about failing or making mistakes. It's about learning. Life has a way of showing us what we need to grow, often through experiences that feel confusing, painful, or unfair. The lessons are disguised in heartbreak, disappointment, and struggle, but they are there. Each moment teaches you to honor yourself, to recognize your worth, and to approach life and love with greater clarity, strength, and wisdom. The journey may feel cruel at times, but the insight it offers is priceless, shaping you into someone who can love deeply without losing themselves along the way. When you first enter a relationship with a narcissist, it can feel like stepping into a dream. They are often magnetic, charming, and seemingly perfect. They notice the little things about you, remember details that no one else seems to, and make you feel like you are the center of their world. In those early moments, it's easy to believe that you found someone extraordinary, someone who truly understands and appreciates you. The attention feels intoxicating, and it can create a strong emotional bond that is hard to question. But over time, cracks begin to show, and the difference between their carefully constructed persona and the reality of who they truly are becomes clearer. One of the first lessons is learning to separate the charm from the character. Narcissists are often masters at creating illusions, making others feel special, and controlling perceptions through charm and attention. This is not genuine love or care. It's a performance designed to meet their needs and maintain power in the relationship. Recognizing this distinction is difficult, especially when your emotions are deeply involved. It requires a level of awareness and self-reflection that many of us are not initially prepared for. Yet, this process of discernment is exactly what personal growth demands. It's common to feel conflicted in these relationships because the narcissist often shows moments of genuine warmth, which keeps hope alive. They may offer affection, compliments, or even apologies, but these moments are frequently strategic. The goal is to regain control, maintain admiration, or manipulate emotions, rather than to genuinely repair harm or nurture a healthy connection. Learning to see through these patterns is one of the hardest yet most important lessons. It forces you to pay attention to actions over words, consistency over charm, and patterns over promises. Being with a narcissist also teaches you to notice how manipulation can be subtle and pervasive. It's rarely overt or aggressive at first. It can start as gentle gaslighting, where your perception of reality is questioned, or small emotional nudges that make you doubt your feelings. They may twist situations to make you feel responsible for their happiness or blame you for their unhappiness. These experiences can be disorienting, leaving you second-guessing yourself constantly. But over time, you begin to recognize the signs, the inconsistencies, and the self-serving patterns that define the relationship. This is where clarity begins to emerge. Another aspect of this lesson is understanding that you cannot change someone who does not see the need to change. Narcissists rarely engage in genuine self-reflection, and their capacity for empathy is limited. Many people enter these relationships believing they can help, fix, or heal the other person. It's natural to want to nurture and support someone you love, but with a narcissist, the effort often goes one way. Understanding this truth is painful, yet it is essential for learning how to protect yourself, set boundaries, and focus your energy on people who are capable of mutual care and respect. This awareness also teaches you about your own vulnerability and your emotional triggers. Narcissists often target sensitivities, insecurities, or unmet emotional needs, whether consciously or unconsciously. By paying attention to what draws you into their influence, you gain insight into your own emotional landscape. You begin to see where you are seeking validation, approval, or love from outside yourself, and why that made you more susceptible to manipulation. This self-knowledge is invaluable. It equips you with the tools to recognize manipulation in future relationships and to avoid repeating patterns that no longer serve your well-being. Finally, understanding the difference between manipulation and reality allows you to reclaim your personal power. Once you see the dynamics clearly, you can make informed decisions about the relationship, rather than being controlled by charm or fear. You learn to trust your instincts, honor your feelings, and value your own perception of reality. This is a profound step in emotional maturity and self-awareness. You realize that your happiness, peace, and self-respect cannot be dependent on someone else's performance, flattery, or attention. Being with a narcissist is painful and confusing, but it teaches a rare form of clarity. It shows you how to distinguish between what is real and what is an illusion, between genuine love and emotional manipulation. It teaches vigilance, discernment, and the importance of acting in alignment with your own truth. And perhaps most importantly, it teaches that your value, your perspective, and your emotional well-being must come first. Once you understand this, you are no longer trapped in the haze of someone else's carefully crafted charm. You begin to step into a reality where relationships are reciprocal, honest, and grounded in mutual respect. Being in a relationship with a narcissist is not just emotionally challenging. It is an intense test of your inner strength. The constant ups and downs, the unpredictability, and the subtle or overt manipulation push your emotional boundaries in ways that few other experiences can. At first, it can feel exhausting, as though you are walking on eggshells or trying to solve a puzzle that has no solution. Yet, amid the confusion and frustration, there is an opportunity to cultivate emotional resilience, a deep, lasting strength that allows you to navigate not just this relationship, but life itself, with more clarity and confidence. Emotional resilience begins with noticing your own reactions. Narcissists often provoke feelings of anger, sadness, anxiety, or self-doubt. These reactions are not signs of weakness. They are signals that your emotional system is alive and responding. By paying attention to these responses, you start to understand your triggers and how the dynamics of the relationship affect you. This awareness is the first step toward resilience because it allows you to separate your emotional experience from the behavior of the other person. You begin to see that your feelings are valid, even if the narcissist denies, minimizes, or twists them. As you continue in this relationship, you gradually learn to cope with disappointment and frustration in ways that are healthy rather than reactive. Narcissists have a way of pushing boundaries and creating situations that feel unfair or unjust. You might feel unseen, unheard, or undervalued. At first, this can feel unbearable, but over time, you learn to manage these feelings without letting them define you. You discover coping mechanisms that protect your energy, whether it's creating mental boundaries, taking time for self-care, or seeking support from trusted friends or mentors. Each small act of self-preservation strengthens your emotional resilience and teaches you that you are capable of enduring and adapting. Another crucial part of building resilience is learning to regulate your responses. Narcissists thrive on reaction. They feed on emotional intensity, whether it's anger, guilt, or panic. By noticing this pattern, you begin to understand that your calmness and centeredness are powerful tools. When you respond from a place of awareness rather than instinctive reaction, you reclaim control over your emotional world. This does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means observing them, understanding them, and choosing how to act rather than being driven by the other person's behavior. Over time, this conscious response builds confidence in your emotional strength. Being with a narcissist also forces you to confront your vulnerabilities, which is a challenging but essential part of emotional resilience. You may recognize insecurities you have carried for years, old wounds that have not fully healed, or patterns in your relationships that repeat. Instead of turning away from these vulnerabilities, the experience encourages you to face them directly. Through this confrontation, you begin to cultivate self-compassion, patience, and understanding. You learn that being emotionally resilient does not mean being invulnerable. It means acknowledging your feelings, learning from them, and moving forward with greater wisdom. Resilience is further reinforced by the necessity of setting boundaries. Narcissistic relationships rarely respect natural limits, and this constant pressure can be emotionally draining. By establishing clear boundaries, you protect yourself from harm and reinforce your sense of self-worth. Each time you enforce a boundary, even in small ways, you are practicing resilience. You are asserting that your needs, your feelings, and your dignity matter. This repeated practice strengthens your emotional muscles and prepares you for future relationships that are healthier and more balanced. Moreover, building emotional resilience in this context teaches you adaptability. Narcissists are unpredictable. Situations can shift in an instant, leaving you off balance. Learning to stay grounded in the face of uncertainty is a vital skill. You discover that you can handle instability without losing yourself, that you can navigate challenges with poise, and that you can emerge from difficult experiences stronger rather than broken. This adaptability becomes a tool that extends far beyond the relationship, helping you face other life challenges with courage and composure. Ultimately, being in a relationship with a narcissist is a profound teacher of emotional resilience. It pushes you to recognize and manage your emotions, to protect yourself without guilt, and to grow in ways you might not have imagined. The lessons learned, awareness, regulation, self-compassion, boundary setting, and adaptability equip you with lasting strength. While the experience can feel overwhelming, it also reveals your capacity to endure, adapt, and thrive. In facing the emotional intensity of such a relationship, you emerge not only more resilient, but also more attuned to your own needs, values, and inner power. Being in a relationship with a narcissist often feels like living in a constant push and pull. One moment, everything seems fine, and the next, the rules of engagement shift without warning. Narcissists have a tendency to overstep limits, invade personal space, or disregard your feelings, sometimes subtly, sometimes overtly. At first, it can be confusing. You might feel guilty for asserting your needs or unsure about what is reasonable. But over time, the experience teaches one of the most critical life skills, the ability to set clear, firm boundaries. Boundaries are about defining what is acceptable and what is not, in terms of how others treat you, what you will tolerate, and how your emotional energy is spent. In a relationship with a narcissist, boundaries are often tested continuously. You might notice that your time, attention, or emotions are constantly being demanded without reciprocity. Learning to set boundaries in these situations is a form of self-respect. It is not about punishing the other person. It is about preserving your well-being and maintaining your sense of identity. At first, setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, even frightening. Narcissists often react negatively when limits are enforced because they are used to controlling the dynamics of the relationship. You may face pushback, guilt tripping, or even attempts to manipulate you into abandoning your stance. This is where the learning truly begins. You start to recognize that boundaries are not negotiable if your emotional health is at stake. You also begin to understand that resistance from a narcissist is not a reflection of your worth or an indication that your boundaries are unreasonable. It is a reflection of their need for control. The process of learning to set boundaries also teaches self-awareness. You begin to notice what triggers discomfort or distress in the relationship and why. Some boundaries are physical, like personal space or time alone. Others are emotional, such as the topics you are willing to discuss or the way you expect to be spoken to. By paying attention to these details, you gain insight into your values and limits. This self-knowledge is essential because it ensures that the boundaries you set are aligned with your authentic needs rather than being reactive or arbitrary. Another crucial lesson is understanding that boundaries are a form of communication. When you assert a limit, you are telling the other person clearly and respectfully what you need in order to feel safe and respected. In narcissistic relationships, this form of communication is often met with resistance, but it is an important practice for asserting your voice. The more consistently you uphold your boundaries, the more you reinforce your own sense of authority over your life. You learn that your needs are valid and that expecting them to be honored is not selfish, it is necessary. Learning to maintain boundaries in the face of manipulation also teaches emotional discipline. Narcissists are skilled at testing limits, creating emotional tension, or provoking guilt. You might feel torn between maintaining your boundary and avoiding conflict. Over time, however, you develop the ability to hold firm without becoming reactive. This requires patience, clarity, and the ability to detach emotionally from attempts to manipulate your behavior. Each successful act of boundary setting strengthens your confidence and reinforces the idea that you are capable of protecting your emotional and mental space. The lessons from boundary setting extend far beyond the relationship with a narcissist. Once you have practiced recognizing your limits and asserting them consistently, you carry this skill into all areas of your life. Friendships, work relationships, and family dynamics all benefit from your ability to define and uphold your needs. You become someone who knows what is acceptable, who can advocate for yourself without fear, and who can navigate relationships without losing your sense of self. Perhaps most importantly, setting boundaries teaches you that love and respect are not mutually exclusive. You can care deeply for someone while still protecting yourself from harm. You can engage in a relationship without sacrificing your dignity or ignoring your emotional needs. This realization is transformative because it reshapes how you approach all relationships moving forward. You begin to attract people who respect your limits, who honor your needs, and who contribute positively to your life instead of draining or manipulating you. Ultimately, learning to set boundaries in a relationship with a narcissist is a journey of empowerment. It teaches you clarity, self-respect, emotional discipline, and resilience. It helps you define your values and assert your identity in the world. And while the process may be challenging, it is one of the most profound gifts that such a difficult relationship can offer. Through this experience, you emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable of creating the healthy, balanced connections you deserve. Being in a relationship with a narcissist can feel like losing yourself slowly, almost imperceptibly. At first, it may seem natural to prioritize their needs, accommodate their moods, and adjust your behavior to maintain peace. Over time, however, you begin to notice that pieces of who you are, your preferences, your voice, your sense of what is right, start to fade. This is often a painful realization, but it is also the beginning of one of the most profound lessons you can experience: self-discovery and a journey back to authenticity. Loving a narcissist forces you to examine who you really are beyond the relationship. When so much energy is spent trying to appease or please someone else, it becomes clear that you have neglected your own desires and needs. This reflection can be uncomfortable at first because it confronts the ways you may have compromised yourself. But it is also deeply empowering. You begin to recognize that your identity is not defined by someone else's approval or perception of you. You start to see that your worth is intrinsic, independent of how others treat you. In these relationships, the narcissist often has a way of distorting reality, making you question your feelings, your choices, and even your memory. This can create self-doubt and a sense of disconnection from your authentic self. However, as you start to pay attention to your own thoughts and feelings, you begin to reclaim your voice. You learn to trust your intuition, to recognize what feels right and what doesn't, and to acknowledge your emotions without judgment. This practice of self-attunement is a cornerstone of authenticity. Self-discovery also comes from observing patterns in your relationships and behavior. You may notice tendencies to people please, to avoid conflict, or to tolerate mistreatment. These patterns are not flaws. They are coping mechanisms developed over time. Loving a narcissist exposes them clearly, providing a mirror to examine why you may have tolerated certain behaviors or why certain dynamics felt familiar. By facing these patterns honestly, you gain insight into who you are, what you truly value, and what you will no longer accept in your life. Another critical aspect of this journey is learning to set aside external expectations and focus on your inner truth. Narcissists often impose their worldview, manipulate perception, or demand conformity to their desires. In response, you begin to ask yourself, what do I want? What makes me feel whole? What aligns with my values? These questions may feel radical at first, but they are essential. They guide you toward a clearer understanding of your authentic self, helping you recognize that your happiness and fulfillment cannot be dependent on someone else's validation. As you reclaim your identity, you also discover your strengths. Living in a relationship with a narcissist is challenging, and surviving it requires resilience, patience, and emotional intelligence. Recognizing these qualities in yourself is a form of self-discovery. You begin to see that you are capable of more than you realized, that you have the courage to face difficult truths, the clarity to recognize unhealthy patterns, and the determination to reclaim your life. These realizations are empowering because they shift the focus from the narcissist's control to your own potential. Authenticity is not just about self-awareness. It is about living in alignment with your values and truth. In the shadow of a narcissist, you learn that compromise has limits, and that being true to yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. You start to make choices that reflect your desires, rather than constantly deferring to someone else's needs or manipulations. This might include expressing your opinions openly, pursuing passions you had sidelined, or cultivating relationships that honor and respect your boundaries. Each step toward authenticity reinforces your sense of self-worth and independence. Ultimately, loving a narcissist, as difficult as it is, becomes a catalyst for profound self-discovery. It forces you to confront uncomfortable truths, to examine your patterns, and to rediscover the parts of yourself that may have been suppressed. Through this process, you learn to trust yourself, honor your needs, and embrace your individuality. The experience, while painful, shines a light on your inner strength and guides you toward a life lived authentically. By reclaiming your voice and recognizing your value, you step into a reality where you no longer seek validation from someone who cannot give it, but instead create a life grounded in your own truth and self-respect. Being in a relationship with a narcissist is often painful, confusing, and exhausting, yet it carries a hidden purpose. It prepares you for healthier, more fulfilling love in the future. While it may feel like you are losing yourself or being taken advantage of, the lessons you gain are shaping your capacity to recognize, attract, and sustain love that is mutual, respectful, and nurturing. These experiences teach you to distinguish between temporary charm and genuine care, between manipulation and authentic connection, and between dependency and interdependence. One of the most important aspects of this preparation is learning to identify what real love looks like. With a narcissist, affection is often conditional, attention is self-serving, and empathy is limited. Experiencing this contrast highlights the qualities you need and deserve in a partner: trust, mutual respect, emotional support, and consistency. You begin to recognize that love is not just about chemistry, excitement, or validation, but about partnership, shared values, and the ability to navigate life together with understanding and care.